Picture the most important stretch of salt water on the planet. At its narrowest, it's about 21 miles across. Roughly one-fifth of all the oil the world burns has to squeeze through it. And for most of the last 3 months, almost nothing has. That stretch of water is the Strait of Hormuz, the gate between Iran and the Arabian Peninsula. And since last February, it has been, for all practical purposes, closed. There is a shooting war attached to it, mines in the water, tankers turning back. And here is the strange part, the part that is actually the whole show this morning. With every bit of that still true, the American stock market just closed at a brand new record high, and the gauge that measures how frightened Wall Street is has sunk to its lowest level since January. The most dangerous waterway on earth is shut, and the market has rarely looked calmer. Somebody is wrong. Over the next few minutes, we're going to work out who and what that means for you. I'm Ken Carpenter, and this is Invest AI Savvy, where AI powers smart investing. Welcome to Monday, June 1st, 2026. Here is what actually happened while you're asleep and across the weekend. For most of the month of May, oil prices fell, not drifted lower, they just fell. Oil handed back almost the entire war premium it had piled on since February, that extra money a barrel carries purely out of fear that the supply is about to get cut off. May was, for crude, one of the ugliest months in a long time, and stocks did the exact opposite. They climbed, and on Thursday, the S&P 500 closed at an all-time high. The fear gauge, the one traders call the VIX, melted right down toward levels we have not seen since the first weeks of the year. Why did this happen? Well, mostly there was one reason. Last week, negotiators reportedly reached a draft deal to extend the ceasefire between the United States and Iran, an agreement to start easing the blockade choking the strait. That single report did almost all the heavy lifting. Cheaper oil, calmer market, everybody exhales. Now, here's the part that did not get printed in the same large font. The president has not signed the deal. Iran's own state media says nothing is final. And only a few weeks back, an earlier offer from Iran landed on President Trump's desk, and he read it and he called it, I'm quoting the man directly here, totally unacceptable. Meanwhile, out on the actual water, here's the actual traffic. Across the past weekend, Iran's Revolutionary Guard said that about 15 ships moved through the strait under their escort in a single day. 4 of them were oil tankers. On a normal peacetime day, the number that passes through is closer to 95. The mines are still in the water, and the cost to insure a tanker through that channel is still many times what it was before the war. So the news says peace is coming, but out on the water, the ships still aren't moving. Remember that, because that disagreement between what people are saying, what is actually happening, is the whole point of today's show. This is the thing I want you to walk away with this morning, and it's far bigger than any one ticker. There is a difference between a narrative and a fact, and the market trades the narrative first every time. A fact is a ship moving through a strait. You can count it. A narrative is a story about what happens next. Peace is coming. The deal gets signed. Oil keeps falling from here. The market does not wait for the ships. It buys the story the instant the story starts to sound good. That is not stupidity. That is simply what the market does. It's a giant twitchy machine for guessing about the future. And right now, the machine has guessed that all of this ends well. And maybe it does, believe me. I really hope it does. But watch what happens to the cushion while everyone agrees on the happy ending. When the whole room is sure the story is good, insurance gets cheap. That is what a fear gauge sitting near its floor is actually telling you. It's telling you that almost nobody is paying up to protect themselves because almost nobody thinks they will need to. And there's a quiet little trap folded inside that. The cheapest moment to buy an umbrella is the moment the sky is the bluest. The most expensive moment is right after the first drop hits. A market priced for everything going right has, by definition, no room left for anything going wrong. There's no slack in the rope. And this isn't some faraway problem for people in suits. That waterway is wired straight into your life. When oil moves, the price of gas moves, and the cost of trucking every box of groceries across the country moves. And a few weeks later, the number on your receipt goes up. The reason this one channel can shake the whole world is that energy sits underneath the price of almost everything. So when I tell you the market is making a bet on a strait that you may have never heard of before today, understand that you're quietly in that bet too. So what is the system doing with all this? Well, BuzzPulse does not read the president's posts. It doesn't have a feeling about the Middle East. What it does all day long is measure the distance between what people are saying and what is actually happening. And right now, that distance, the gap between the confident story and the empty water, is about as wide as it ever gets. The system is not telling me to run for the exits. It's telling me to notice that the rope has no slack in a week where one piece of paper, signed or not signed, decides which way everything moves. The watch list tells you where to look, and the greed list tells you where the trap is. So let me tell you where I'm looking and where we think the trap is hiding, because this morning they happen to be at the same spot. Where I am looking is the water, not the words. Tune out the leaks and the posts for a second. The honest signal this week is the ship count and the ink on that agreement. If the deal genuinely gets signed and tankers genuinely start moving, oil keeps sliding, the pressure on prices eases, and that quietly rewrites the entire conversation about interest rates for the summer. That is a good chain of events, and that is a real possibility. Where the trap is hiding is that very same spot, run in reverse. If the agreement doesn't get signed, if one more incident flares up out in the water, oil doesn't gently drift higher, it snaps up. And a market parked at a recent high with no cushion underneath it has no graceful way to absorb a snap. Everything that moves with energy and everything that moves with interest rates reprices all at once. You don't want to be discovering your own risk tolerance in the middle of that. You want to have it settled beforehand on a quiet morning like this one. So I'm not going to hand you a hot stock to paper over a morning like today. There is no clever little name that makes a geopolitical coin flip safe. And anybody who hands you one this week is selling you a feeling, not a fact. The honest accounting today is simple. The system has no high conviction single bet for a day that turns on a signature no algorithm on earth can predict. Saying that out loud instead of inventing a ticker so you feel like you got your money's worth is the entire reason I built this thing in the open. So here's where we land. Be patient and be awake. A calm market is not the same as a safe one, and this is the week that the difference shows up. The headline is the promise and the water is the fact. Trust the water. I'm Ken Carpenter. This is Invest AI Savvy, and that's the way it is.